Maria Camila Garcia-Molina. She was a beautiful 24-year-old woman living in Florida, and she was the mother of a 3-year-old daughter. And sadly, last Saturday, Garcia-Molina's life ended in front of her. Little girl, according to police, and nowhere. Ex-boyfriend is in jail, charged with murdering her. This incredibly sad story started last Saturday afternoon in Miami, when family members flagged down Miami-Dade sheriff's deputies because Garcia-Molina's little 3-year-old daughter had what appeared to be dried blood on her clothes and her face. Many more details are revealed in a probable cause affidavit that document states. Investigation revealed that the victim had left her residence with her juvenile daughter at approximately 12:30 p.m. Subsequently, at approximately 2:38 p.m., the victim's daughter was discovered abandoned around the neighborhood of the victim's mother's residence, which was highly unusual. The victim's daughter had blood on her and no trauma. Furthermore, the victim's daughter disclosed to a Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office Vulnerable Victims Unit detective that her mother was with Joy and that her mother was hit in the head and she was now sleeping. Joyous Joy Chandra. And according to investigators, he is the ex-boyfriend of Garcia-Molina. The affidavit continued. An area canvass was conducted for the victim's vehicle, which was located in a visitor parking space within the Twin Lakes complex, where the victim resides. Suspected blood was observed in plain view in the front passenger seat, and what appeared to be a human body covered in blankets on the rear floorboard. That body, of course, was Garcia-Molina's. Her family members told detectives things that made them even more concerned and gave them a reason to look for Joy Nath. The affidavit continued. Family members unseen advised that the victim had an ex-boyfriend identified as the defendant, who had a history of stalking and following her. The victim had also obtained a past temporary restraining order on the defendant. Furthermore, the night prior, on April 25, 2025, the defendant had unexpectedly responded to Dolphin Mall, where the victim was with her new boyfriend and engaged in a verbal altercation with them deputies. And detectives, they started looking for Joy Nath. And they found him early Sunday morning just after midnight at Garcia-Molina's apartment complex. The affidavit states the defendant arrived at the Twin Lakes complex in his vehicle and turned onto Southwest 136th Avenue and proceeded to turn off his headlights. Investigators conducted a traffic stop, and they discovered the defendant with scratches on his arms, face, and neck. The defendant spontaneously stated that he had the victim's belongings with him and that he was going to return them to her. The defendant also spontaneously stated, "Can you guys tell me what happened? Because I saw her this morning and that's all it was." Detectives took Joy Nath to the police station, where they say he waived his rights and he agreed to talk to them. The defendant stated that he was with the victim prior to her being discovered deceased, and that he met the victim, who was accompanied by her 3-year-old child, in the parking lot of Kavanaugh Cuban Cuisine. The defendant stated that they went into Starbucks and ate breakfast. The defendant stated that the victim gave him her purse with her personal effects, to include her cellular telephone. The defendant stated they went their separate ways, and that he returned to his residence and washed his clothing. Now, I'm sure the detectives included that part about Knapp saying he washed his clothing because they suspect he did this because he likely had blood on him. The affidavit mentions again. It should be noted that the defendant had bruising on the right side of his face and cheek, along with several scratches on his neck, arms, and face, which indicate that he was in a physical altercation now. All of this led detectives to get a search warrant for Nath's vehicle. The defendant's vehicle was searched by homicide investigators. Observed inside the defendant's vehicle was the victim's purse, which contained her cellular telephone and government identifications. It should be noted that only the murderer would have possession of her cellular telephone device, as the victim's cellular telephone records were analyzed by Homicide's hit squad, revealing that the victim's cellular telephone was initially at her residence and then traveled to the defendant's residence. The victim's cellular telephone then returned back to the scene where the victim's body was located. The victim's cellular telephone remained at the scene, and then the last known tower ping was in the area of State Road 836 and I-95 in an eastbound direction. This is a Law&Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to these outcomes? Morgan & Morgan is stepping in to fight to hold food companies accountable with decades of experience fighting large corporations. They are ready to stand up for families who deserve justice. If your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, visit www.forthepeople.com food or scan the QR code on your screen to learn more. Joy Nath was booked into the jail on charges of second-degree murder and child abuse. Nath appeared in court. Good morning, Mr. Nath, sir. You were arrested for 1 count of second-degree murder and 1 count of child abuse. This is, from April 26. The judge took some time to look through the documents, then had some questions. Okay, I don't know if it's child abuse or child neglect, although state what. I don't know what your position is. For child abuse, killing the child's mother in front of the child, is that abuse? Is till think it's neglect. The street from the car afterwards. Yeah, I would say that would be a child abuse. The prosecutor said Nath is accused of killing Garcia-Molina in front of her child and then leaving the child in the street. So yes, they would definitely call that child abuse. The state filed a motion for pretrial detention pending final hearing pursuant to Florida Statute 907-041. Since second-degree murder is considered a dangerous crime, I'm granting the state's motion for pretrial detention holding you with no bond in count. 2 child abuse, I'll set that at $5,000. So sir, you will see a judge tomorrow. That judge will set a final hearing on the state's motion for pretrial detention. But that wasn't all. He has an open case. He's out on felony bond for grand theft and fraudulent use of an ID as well. We'll see your judge tomorrow. Good day. Thank you. Nath is now being held without bail on that murder charge, and as you heard, he has other pending cases. So to talk about this incredibly sad case, I want to bring in Melba Pearson. She is a former prosecutor. Melba. This case is just unbelievable to me the minute I saw the information about it, that we have a 3-year-old little girl who left the house with her mother, and then she's discovered with dried blood on her, and she's recounting what happened to law enforcement. I just can't even imagine. I mean, it's just heartbreaking. Yeah. For that poor child to lose her mother in such a horribly violent fashion, and to have to witness it, and basically be like, mommy's sleeping, like, she doesn't even really understand. Her poor little mind can't grasp that she's never going to see her mom again. It breaks my heart. It fully breaks my heart, especially as someone who was handling domestic crimes. I mean, that's definitely a cause that's close to my heart, and all my love and strength goes out to the family, because they're going to have so much work ahead of them, not only grieving the loss of their loved one, but also trying to make sure this little girl gets the support and love and services that she needs, including getting past the trauma of what happened to her. And sadly, we know that this kind of trauma can follow you throughout your life, so it's going to take a lot of work from the family and therapists and all that to make sure that this little girl stays okay, because this is just terrible. Yeah. Tome, I think you're right. The little girl has no understanding of what happened. She's saying, mommy was with Joy and, hit her head and now she's sleeping. But obviously the little girl, she has evidence on her. They're saying she has blood on her face and her clothes. She was there when this happened and she witnesses it. But she's able to give these detectives. She's just a little child. Give these detectives and her mom's family, enough information to go in the right direction. And so they go in the right direction, and the family also provides this information. Even more disturbing than the fact that she had a restraining order on him at one point. So she was afraid of him. And there had been a history, apparently, of stalking, and so is a domestic violence. Prosecutor, my gosh, does that up the ante here at all? Because right now, he's charged with second-degree murder, and so do you see potentially That charge being upgraded, is that a charge you...